Okay, I think that is working. Okay, yep, let's just start. Okay, yeah, so firstly, sorry everyone for, again, being late. And we can just get started. I think there's a few tickers I wanted to look at based on, oh, sorry, I forgot who sent them actually, but they were just pretty good stair stepping examples. So I'm just gonna go click through those, and then after that, I think we can just take a look at what anyone here has in mind or has any curiosity to go see. Okay, so yeah, let me go see here. I think. Okay, yeah, there we go. So I think these were all setups that were pretty good. Stair stepping. Let me see here. So Oscar. Firstly, let me get over here to hourly. Okay, so Oscar has been having pretty good wedge actually. Um, so let me see. Actually, on this week, this doesn't have much of a bias. Looks like if we hold 19, if we stay under, it looks like we may drop. I will say this
Nico,
one. Yes. Hello.
are you sharing your screen?
Oh my goodness. I'm not sharing screen on Discord. Okay.
I got you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh man, I gotta make a checklist or something for the future. Okay. Can you now?
You're getting bad like glitch.
uh, is it visible for everyone on Discord now? Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, I just woke up, as you can tell, probably from my voice. So, all right. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Uh, Miss, yeah, Miss V. I assume it was you. Okay. Uh, yeah. So what I've been saying here is Oscar has a pretty good wedge on daily, and then honestly, yeah, not bad here, honestly. And then let me see. Yes, actually broke pretty cleanly here. Yeah, I guess it broke overnight retested. And it seems to have bounced pretty well. I will say this upper major trend line. Let's see, this 19. Yeah, if we can hold over 19, we might have some upside left, but this one doesn't look too huge on the weekly to go much higher. But I will say going into next week, just point down slightly, whereas these OPEX nodes, yeah, that's pretty. We're slight favoring towards upside, but yeah, I would say playing this one. Honestly, playing this one, at least for weeklies, is not seeing huge upside or downside. I mean, to next week for this 18 node maybe is not bad if we're able to get to 20 and tap and reject, but um, yeah, I'm not seeing too clear of a play here, I guess. Um, okay, yeah, sorry. So let me go. I have that list somewhere else. Wait, let me get a screenshot here. Okay, yeah, so one after this. Let's see. I think Carvana already moved, if I'm not mistaken. But let's take a look. So let me see. Straight off the bat. Yeah, WZ. I have like a list of around six that I'm going through, and then I can look into those. Okay, so let me see here. So 390. Looks like 390. Actually, it looks like we broke over. We'll hold there. So yeah, I would watch 390 as a pretty big level. That if we're able to hold that, then we should see further upside. I will say this 400 node may give some resistance. You know, we have 5,000 here on VEX, and then on GEX, we're also seeing at a somewhat major node. So yeah, I would just keep a level or keep an eye on that 400 to reject, which wouldn't make, yeah, it would make sense. I mean, that's just past this previous high wick or swing high. So yeah, if we do hold, if we do push above and hold that 390, I do think we get to 400, and you just want to keep an eye at 400 and see how we react there. But yeah, Carvana, the key node is still quite a bit higher. But I will say at 400 especially, we have a bit of a ceiling for now, and possibly 420. This may grow a bit and give some resistance there as well. But for now, I'd say 400 is really the big upside ceiling that we need to get through. Okay. Um, yeah, and I guess Carvana does have a lot of upside actually into OPEX. I'll say the nodes next week are not major, but we do have some around this 410, 415 that look quite good. If we're able to clear 400, maybe we end around 410 going into next week. Okay, so we have Reddit as well. Okay, Reddit. Case 235 is definitely strong. Uh, yeah, Reddit's a bit trickier actually. Let me see. It does have some pretty nice nodes here. This 265, 270 for next week, but it does have a lot of ceilings in order to get there. Let me see, even up to 285. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff in the way. You know, like this 265 level, I guess roughly here. Um, so his previous resistance holding pretty well. But even like this 250-ish here maybe is also quite a strong level. So I would say Reddit, you probably want to look for. It's a bit hard to say. We're a bit at a midpoint right now. So I would say if we do get a dip down to 235, would obviously be optimal. It looks like we did that last week though. Um, but yeah, if we do somehow get that retest up to 35, would probably be the optimal entry there. I can make my screen bigger. Which one are you not able to see? GDOL. Like the font on TradingView, or you're saying like the actual heat maps need to be a bit larger? Um, I think on PC, yeah, you should be able to full screen or at least enlarge it. I think if you're watching on mobile, it'll be quite difficult to zoom in and be able to track both. So hopefully, yeah, you're able to watch on laptop or PC. Okay, mobile can zoom in. Okay, so hopefully it's not too big a deal, but yeah, if it's the trading view side, I can switch any of these settings if you want. The heat maps, I can't really mess with those though. Those are sort of just what they are. So yeah, just let me know, GDOL, if I need to change any of that. Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, Reddit retraces to 235. Um, that'd be a much cleaner entry. Uh, just just so we can get in off of this floor that we have built. But yeah, for now, I guess the opposite ways. You could also look at 250 for 250 or 255 for further rejection down. But yeah, I would say Reddit is maybe seems to have a bit of upwards bias for next week. So in that case, you may want to be looking at either 235 retrace for a better entry, or if you look at 250 or 255 for a break and hold above, that'd be good. Yeah, I mean, I can zoom in. I just uh, the more I zoom in here, hopefully this is better. Maybe I usually, yeah, I just try not to. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to. Again, I'm not too expert on the YouTube side, so I may need to look into if I need to change stuff for that. I can look into that in the future. Yeah, okay. So I'll just leave it back to default, and hopefully it's okay now that you switched to Discord. Okay. Oh, the YouTube stream's blurry. Oh man. Okay. I think for today I'll just run it blurrier, just because I don't know how to fix that right now. But yeah, I think for Wednesday then I can look into that and see what I need to change so the YouTube is not as blurry. But yeah, definitely in theory it should be equal settings on both. So I'll try to fix that. Bump to 1080. Yeah, I'm just surprised. Surprised it's not ready at. Uh, so I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, I think for today, I don't know. I think for today we'll just leave it how it is. And then for Wednesday I'll try to get this fixed. So yeah, sorry. Sorry for anyone on YouTube. Hopefully it's not too terrible. But okay. Okay, so that was Reddit. I think Coinbase already. Yeah, the Coinbase move happened already. So it's just, I don't know if there's much to do here. I'll still go over it. Um, yeah, so let me see here. So I think Coinbase, I guess you basically would have had to enter Thursday or Friday off of these lower 305 nodes. And I don't know what those maps look like last week. But I do know now these 320 node got flipped really early in the day. Um, it sort of was used there as a base, and then this, yeah, I think all Bitcoin related tickers just sort of ripped pretty strong today. So coin, I wouldn't recommend chasing. So this one's, we got a very nice move already. So then there'll probably be a lot of people chasing onto this one, so they'll probably get burned at some point this week. But um, this 330 node looks okay as a potential floor now that we have pumped. So if you look here, it's like a previous support resistance here. As long as we break above that, hold this 330, I would say we do have a bit more upside. Um, but yeah, like I said, overall this move already happened. So if you're looking at this, you probably want to be just targeting something else. Honestly, just look at that play as something that's already passed. I think Microsoft as well this morning bounced off of 510. This one as well, like I will say the floor was pretty clear. Like we do have this clump of negative nodes here sitting at 510, 512. But I will say I think playing this one was probably not like not really like an A plus setup just because the amount of ceilings that we had. So even if you entered down here at 510, which I think it wicked 510, even 509 this morning, we do have a ceiling, 520 with 57, 517, some of these nodes around it. Obviously 540 is peak node, but there's just a lot of stuff in the way that I could see us rejecting, whether that's the 520, 530, 535, this clump, this duo here at 522 and 525. So there's just a lot of potential roadblocks on the way up for Microsoft. So uh, yeah, honestly, if I would have, I mean, I didn't even notice this, but if I would have noticed, if I'd have had this 510 marked out, I don't even know if I would have played this just due to the amount of overhead ceilings on this sticker. But the bounce it did end up working very well off of 510, um, but again, like if you're playing that bounce, just make sure, and this goes in general, right? Like if you're playing SPX intraday or whatever it may be, just make sure you're securing those profits quickly because um, it's only Monday. And there's a lot of time for them to either, reject some of these other ones or have one of these higher nodes step in as a ceiling. So just make sure you're securing um, profits as you go. Okay, Datadog, I think, just kept ripping today, if I remember right. Yeah, so I think, yeah, and I had just done the recap on this one actually. So, on like the YouTube shorts. So I think a few people had played this on Friday. I know Jay had sent his profits. I think, but he had played last week's and just didn't have runners. But um, yeah, it looks like the ceiling of 139, 140, where it stalled out last week towards the end. Today it then used as a base and it just kept ripping. Um, so yeah, this 140 node here looks like got flipped um, and just bounced off of very well. Now I will say, based on the current maps, there's not much room overhead, and this 145 from back here could serve as a potential rejection spot. I just There's just not much volume on VEX at all. We're still sitting most of that volume down here at 140 or even 138 for next week. So I would keep an eye on this actually because if this GEX doesn't roll up much higher, I could see this one rejecting off this previous swing high, and then we get some downside. Now that we kind of overshot that 140 that we were targeting last week. Um, yeah, so Datadog, honestly, like on the upside, I don't see that it has much room left there. But again, I mean, it's possible they just start rolling this up throughout the week, but it does look like it should be slowing down at some point. Okay, I think Rocket Lab was They might have had overnight news. Maybe not. No, I think they did. I think I saw someone say that. But yeah, Rocket Lab has had some pretty insane upside nodes at 50, 54. Even at 57.5 has decent volume, even though, yeah, I very much doubt we get that high. But at minimum, I think we'll come hit this 50 and potentially reject there. Which, yeah, if you look at 50, it's a pretty old resistance level here. So I do think we will, um, yeah, at minimum, I do think we will come tap this 50. Now, I will say there's probably high risk we reject that 50. So this 54 node, yeah, we have to check how it reacts at 50, but that's a pretty strong level we have to crack to get to 54, which would be like this sort of double top up here. But yeah, best case scenario, we will get there, but I'd say, um, yeah, for this ticker, you might want to make sure you're playing a closer strike just in case we do get, or selling out early, tomorrow or Wednesday, so you're not affected by theta in case we do hit this 50 and then reject. Okay, so that's Rocket Lab. Let me, yeah, like looking further out, there's not too much. Like, there's nothing major for the next week. 2 weeks out, it's pretty split. So, but yeah, I'd say overall, pretty good setup with Rocket Lab. Uh, but honestly, I think some people already entered that play. So, honestly, might be even a bit late to enter, especially if they got overnight news. Okay, so meta off 720. Let me see here. So meta is pretty split. It does look like upside is favored. Just trying to find a good. It looks like we're basing at some fib levels here. Uh, somewhat, somewhat like this. Oh, I think this. Yeah, wait. This box being yellow is not helping. How do I? Okay, it's not helping either. I need a different color. I don't know. Green. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, meta does look like it's retesting. Let me see how we can do this. Has a pretty strong trend line. Has held this 0.707 fib. It almost onto the second golden pocket even. Um, what I will say though is similar to Microsoft, honestly, it has a lot of ceilings, and I don't see a clear floor yet, like a 735. Honestly, yeah, like this double bottom or even a 735, we just come with this second golden pocket would be pretty great. Um, but yeah, I mean, currently there is upside, but there's potential it's capped at even as low as 750, so it's actually not major upside. Actually, oh yeah, and I would say 760, also a pretty significant wall here at 760. That might actually be the stronger wall, which is sort of lining up here. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think Meta does have pretty good bullish setup. Um, I would just maybe like perhaps a bit lower dip in order to get those longs. But it does look also fairly bullish going into next week. Let me see. Yeah, like we definitely have a lot more volume on upside here at 780, 770, 760. We only have one 705 downside node, so I would say it's pretty biased upside going into next week. As long as the general market stays a bit stays strong. Okay, so okay, yeah, so I think those setups were thanks to Shulgin Flow. So thanks to him. I think he had sent them out earlier. Now let me see. Yeah, now let me go through chats, through everything you guys have been sending. Um, okay, so Tesla, I think WZ had asked for Tesla. Okay, yeah, so Tesla, okay, 450. Yeah, wait, let me zoom out a bit more on Tesla. Okay, so Tesla does have a really big node actually up here at 470. Um, but let me see here. Um, but yeah, it has this 460 and 462 pair of nodes are pretty big gatekeepers there. And even this 450, I'm curious. It's quite large on the GEX. On the VEX, it's a bit smaller, but that 450 could also give a lot of trouble. Um, so yeah, I mean, it definitely looks bullish. I just, yeah, there's a couple ceilings here that might prevent that 470 from happening. So yeah, either play it with that in mind, or you might even want to wait for, a crack above 450 and retest or something like that. So it's at least get one ceiling out of the way before you enter. But I leave that. It's up to you all. But um, yeah, it looks like today we consolidated pretty much all day on Tesla. So um, yeah, I don't really see a floor I like, honestly. I guess all the way down here at 430. 430 potentially could be a good if we retrace, but that's quite a steep retrace. But yeah, that's my thoughts there. But yeah, I will say like on hourly, Tesla is flagging. So if we are gonna have a leg up, I could easily see it continue to leg up from where it is right now, at least towards that 450, possibly higher towards that 460. That 460, 462 is maybe the stronger ceiling there. Okay, Tesla wing. Oh, Wingstop. Yes, I think Wingstop, we can look at the daily. I think these are monthly contracts, so we can take a look at this. So honestly, I had a really good double bottom a long time ago, but now we can look at, yeah, this second golden pocket has actually been very clean. We did tap in wick 240, and it's bounced pretty well, honestly, the past 2 days. Um, yeah, the one thing I'll say on this, just a reminder, these are monthly contracts on Wingstop, so we the reversal's working quite well. I will say this 300, even a bit lower, like honestly, even this 290 could give trouble. Just this recent like swing low. Um, so yeah, I would say keep an eye there, but it does look like it's reversing quite well, Wingstop. So yeah, and I think a few people have mentioned that they've been waiting quite a while for this reversal. So even if you enter early, it does look like it's at least started. So let's see if that continues over the next week or two. And then we can, at minimum, target 300. Um, if we're able to clear that level and break above, then potentially higher. But yeah, I think realistically, you want to be looking at 300 target on this ticker if you're looking at month out. But the only concern there is, although this node is quite small, but I do find it a bit odd that the month after is a 200 node, and we don't see any further upside. So that's maybe the only thing I don't like too much there. Okay. Let's see, VIX. Okay, yeah, so VIX just keeps. uh, sorry, was someone gonna ask a question? Or I think they went mute. Okay. Okay, so VIX, let's see here. So yeah, I think VIX, I think everyone's been waiting. Yeah, I think there's been a few times we thought this might break out, but um, I think Glitch had kept mentioning that he was waiting for 15 to load. I don't know if he actually did or not, but I guess we tapped 15. What was this? 2 weeks ago. um, but yeah, I do think VIX is not a bad play, especially looking at this at the Vanna chart. We do see a lot of upside stacked. 1 month out up to 32, but even going into end of year, we do have our biggest node is still where we are now, but we do have a couple nodes like pretty high up towards 60, 100. That is might be worth taking sort of as a hedge if you are pretty biased long, especially if some of you play like more long-term options. This wouldn't be a bad idea to have just to counterbalance those. But yeah, if you're sticking more to intraday, this may be not necessary in that scenario. But yeah, definitely it does look um, like there's some risk of this fix growing a lot going into end of year. So yeah, probably worth it if you just take a small size and have that sitting there as a hedge, just to counter if any of you are not over leveraged, but over biased long. Okay, let me keep going here. Netflix, I haven't taken a look at, but uh, it's kind of an ugly wedge. But Netflix, we got some kind of wedge built there. Then we also have a pretty strong level right here. So let me see. It's like 1190. Okay, so yeah, I guess first thing, yeah, if you look at this Gex map on Netflix, I would not touch this. This map is like terrible. I guess 1180, we have some level of volume. 1180 maybe you can mark as a potential bounce spot. Um, let me zoom in a bit more. Maybe I'm too zoomed out. But yeah, like maybe you can target if we take out this wick over here at the 1180, 1175. But overall, I'd say this map is pretty gross. um, so yeah, maybe set an alert at 1180, maybe ceiling at 12. There's not really a clear ceiling, honestly. Like the Vex and Gex don't really have a shared node. But maybe if one develops throughout the week, just set an alert there and just wait. But I would not try to be guessing which way it's gonna move right now. It's pretty cluttered heat maps on Netflix. Okay. Okay, so that was Netflix. A firm.
A firm.
Give me a second here.
A second here.
Oh shoot. Okay, wait.
Oh shoot.
Who's on Echo? Okay, I think gotta fix that echo there. Okay, so a firm. Let me see here. So a firm had been really strong. I know they had earnings and then retraced a lot of that move. Actually, they fully retraced it now. Let me see on Gex. So the 77. Wow. Okay, wait a second. 77. So who sent this message? They got a new contract on a firm. Yeah, so I'm not aware of what the news is on a firm, but what I will say, uh, is this support resistance? It didn't quite tap, but it got very close. But this lower 74 node that's there on both Gex and Vex basically tapped this morning. So that was probably the clear play. Was the bounce there off 74. I would say the upside still looks pretty good, honestly. If we can clear the 77 that we're sitting at right now on the Gex, if we can clear over 77, hold it as a support, I do think 82 looks pretty viable. What you do want to see though is you want to see this 74, 75 node tail off, shrink in volume, and we want to see some of that volume roll up towards 82 because the Vex looks quite good, but the Gex is showing we may struggle a bit more where we currently are. So I think the best entry of the reversal was 74, but still potential that we can have pretty nice upside move. As long as we clear sort of the 77-ish. Okay, A firm. Okay, so Unity, I think I had seen Juliano talking about this one. Has like a pretty big negative, not negative, downside node, I believe. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, yeah, so 38. Oh, whoops. I don't even know how I did that. Okay. Okay, there's not really a ceiling, but let me see what's on the chart. So yeah, I think this one here, if we're losing this level, like around 43, if we break below that, this looks pretty good for a breakdown. At least towards 41-ish. And at best, yeah, towards this 38.5 node, but so 38.5 would put us around here. Yeah, it's just pretty good support resistance flip from the past. So I would say, yeah, if we're able to lose this 43 level, it looks pretty safe down to 41.50 or even 41. And then if we're able to lose that support resistance, then yeah, we can sort of fall all the way down to 39 where the king node is. But yeah, this there might be something that steps up in the way, like this 40 node might grow. But yeah, I would definitely just keep an eye. If we keep under this level, I'd say this really good short right here. Like this does look super, super skewed towards downside. So Unity looks pretty decent there. Lululemon. Had I mentioned? I feel like I've looked at this lately. I don't remember why, but yeah, Lululemon looks like it has a pretty good double top. I guess. Okay, we missed 180 by half a dollar, let's say. But maybe tomorrow, if we wick above 180, or if we just clear this previous high, it does look pretty good to short. So yeah, Lululemon. I don't mind this at all for a downside play going into rest of week. I'm not sure of contract prices on these, but chart looks pretty good for a double top. That same node is peak. There's nothing higher on Gex or Vex. And Vex is actually stacked pretty strong to the downside. Gex is pretty not even split, but there's nothing much higher than 180, so I could see us rejecting there, and then we get some pretty good downside there. So Lulu also looks quite good. Tesla has news. Oh, I don't. Yeah, I'm not too well versed on the news side of it, but yeah, Wing I know are 1 monthly contracts, so there's still a lot of time they can mess with that. Casanova, do I look at any other indicators like MACD? No. So I play pretty much only support resistance. Sometimes I'll take a look at trend lines, but even the trend lines is just typically not the reason I take the trade. It's just I guess I've noticed the ones that are pretty coiled tight tend to do pretty well. But no, like I'm really just looking at support resistance flips. looking for any double tops, double bottoms, and pairing that with the heat map. Occasionally, I'll do fib levels as well, but like I think on Wingstop, I had looked at the fib as a pretty good way to find where we're bouncing, but even fib levels is not a. Those are a bit tricky. Like I would say, fib levels, you do want to take with some caution because I've seen many cases where people enter. Yeah, I guess I can give the example right of. Well, just so the visual is there as well. So like I've seen many cases where people enter on the first golden pocket or the 0.707, and price will hunt out the second golden pocket, or it might hunt out a double bottom, right? So then you do end up being quite red. And then even if it bounces well, like it takes a while before your contracts recover. So the safest play is always just going to be waiting for a double bottom. And if if it retraces to a fib level and goes without you, that's fine. But if you're really trying to find like the best entries, most times those are going to be when we sweep a level for a double bottom or sweep a level for a double top. So no, I don't look at MACD or RSI or any of these other indicators. Um, okay, AVGO, yeah, I can take a look at Broadcom. Give me a second. Okay, so, hmm. So I will say, oh, this sold off pretty hard actually, 340. Did we get 342 tap? I guess not really, but it looks like we almost tapped this 342 today and then rejected off of that. I'm not seeing much of a floor. Like on the chart, this could be a double bottom and we could get a bounce, but not seeing much confirmation on the heat map there, which seemed to be pointing to a bit lower, honestly, like a bounce at 320 or even 310, which would be pretty crazy. That's much further down. So I do think for now, AVGO, the play was today, play the rejection of this 340, 342 node. But I will say, like, this Gex map is super cluttered as well. Like, 320, 310. We could even just stay chopping within these few nodes. I'm just not getting much sense of direction here. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't like AVGO too much. If we do find some kind of floor, like if we do kind of retrace towards this 320, or if we hold this double bottom, this and these nodes stay strong or grow, like it does look pretty good even into next week. We do have some nodes up here at 350, 355, even 370. But right now, like seeing that we just rejected off of these, sort of the peak node for this week, um, I would want to find a stronger floor here. Like right now, I would struggle to say that maybe we just say double bottom and then pump off of that because I'm just not seeing much confirmation of that on the heat maps. Okay, so how's AVGO? Hopefully that helps. GDOL. Loon. A-Firm. I think I already did A-Firm. I had already looked at it. I think I'd said, yeah, the 74 bounce was probably best play, which was today early in the morning. If we're able to clear this 77 on Gex, that it does look pretty good for upside. Yeah, we just need to make sure that this 77 is getting broken above. eBay. What was eBay? This is the one you sent a message about over the weekend, I think. Yeah, I'm almost positive. Okay, so actually eBay today wick the 90 level a couple times. Yeah, actually, I would keep an eye on eBay. I think I guess there was entry today, but you can also just see if we retrace, bounce out, tap it again tomorrow, and then get an upwards move. But eBay looks quite good actually. Like it does look very clear that we have 90 to 96 range, so eBay I wouldn't mind that one at all. So yeah, guys, I think um whenever you're seeing some of these maps that I've looked through today, like Broadcom was a bit tricky, Meta, Microsoft. Yeah, don't feel forced to like make a trade work on a ticker just doesn't have a great setup. So just keep looking. There's so many tickers that eventually you should be able to find something much, much cleaner, similar to like what eBay is right now. Um, yeah, there almost always be a cleaner setup. So if anything feels a bit iffy at all, then I would just keep searching through some of these other tickers. You should be able to find something that looks a lot cleaner, like eBay. eBay, yeah, WZ. I think Lulu was. Yeah, if those contracts are cheap, honestly, Lulu's not a bad setup. The only concern with Lulu is this 175. If this like starts to grow out of nowhere, then I'd be concerned, which would be like right here. But like from a double top standpoint, and we really have no more upside. I think Lulu also looks pretty good for downside. Okay, let me see what else. So AMD, yeah, AMD. Let me see here, 160. So AMD seems to have just these two clumps, right? Like this 160, 162 stack of nodes, and then this 170. So we don't look bad, honestly, here for a bounce. We kind of just have to clear this level here that we've been struggling with, like this 163-ish. I would say, yeah, AMD has upside. I will say this is. I'd have to check contracts, but this might be too tight of a range. Actually, yeah, let me check that. So I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever played AMD actually. So I don't know if there's enough range for that to move well. But so if we look at 165, yeah, I mean honestly you can get 165's 30 delta under 200. So yeah, I would say AMD is playable. I would just say make sure we are really breaking above that 162, and then so we have higher confidence that we're getting towards that we make it towards that 170, 167. But yeah, AMD looks all right. Palantir. Palantir. So I think I had looked at this on the weekend, maybe. So yeah, I think I said like if we come resweep and then reject, that this looked pretty good, but yeah, like back off that 182, it looks pretty good all the way down, but we seem to just have had a pretty inside day. Actually, Palantir is on 2 straight inside days. Yeah, I'm not too sure on this one, honestly. Palantir tends to move pretty crazy, so do a bit of a wedge. So then, yeah, I would say we're at a pretty critical like flip. We're sitting at this flip area, so you want to just be seeing, are we gonna break above and hold? Or are we just gonna reject off this 180, 182 and then fall towards end of day or end of week? But yeah, I would say right now it's not immediately clear which of those two, what the bias there is, just because we do have some nodes above and below on Palantir. But Yeah, so honestly, this one, it looks like a move is coming. At least to me, it looks a bit difficult to see which way that move may be. Okay, Palantir, SMCI. Yeah, you can look at that. Okay. Yeah, so we do have a bit of a sandwich here between 46, 47. If we're able to clear 47, we might be able to get some movement up towards this 49 node, but the 47 level for now is quite strong. So we are kind of, yeah, so we're sort of dealing with this level right here. I guess a bounce off 46 wouldn't be terrible. But yeah, so like unless this 47 tails off, like this range is just so limited. Like we're just there's just no upside nor downside. Um, unless this 47 cracks, then we can get a full upward move. If we lose this 46 level, I guess we could get some further downside, maybe down to like this 44.50 where these like few wicks have been in the past, uh, but yeah, like equally same as the 47. I think this 46 will have a hard time cracking tomorrow, but yeah. So SMCI, I wouldn't say I like it much either. Just looks pretty limited. Um, yeah, yeah, it looks pretty limited just based off these couple of nodes that are sort of restricting it towards upside and downside. Does Nike earnings impact Lululemon? I believe it does. I think I have read before that some people play sympathy there. So actually, yeah, that's a good point. I don't. So I wouldn't recommend playing earnings, especially since this map is not saying too much. I would say it looks like we're biased upside very slightly on Nike, but I would absolutely not play Nike contracts. I know some people will play the sympathy
Digo,
ticker.
buenas noches, discúlpame la hora. ¿Cómo estás?
Buenas.
Bien, gracias. Oye, es que me metí a submitir una extensión de POV y traté de hacer la extensión, sí, o sea, ya está ahorita andando. E intenté recordar los pasos que hicimos la vez pasada y llegué hasta, pues me voy a la parte de
Qué
General
pena.
Extensions y me metí a la que está ahorita activa, pero ya no me acuerdo dónde era.
Shulgin,
Sí,
¿quieres hablar con todo el mundo o eso
sí.
estás hablando aparte? I think, yeah, I'll mute him. Unless
¿Dónde
someone is
están
leaving.
todos los links?
Okay, yeah, I'll message him separately. Whoops. Yeah, I thought it was a question for us. Okay. Sorry, so where were we? Yeah, so WZ, yeah, like Nike contracts are probably juiced pretty bad. Some people will play Lulu as a way to get around the IV, but I would say it's not even worth it because this map is telling me nothing. Like when I say it's slight upside favoring, it's very slight, like not much at all. So I would just stay away from, yeah, maybe stay away from both even. Or yeah, maybe that might be something you want to take a look back at previous earnings reports for both companies and just see if they're linked. You know, if the movement drives the other one at all. Okay, so Shulgin had asked for BMNR. Is this the Bitcoin company, I think? Yeah, what the? Okay, this is. right, let's zoom in. Looking at the hard time frame on that is pretty nonsense. Because I think it's the company that just went like just ballooned on their IPO date. Oh, it's tied to Ethereum? Okay, thanks, Text. Okay. Oh, it does have a huge node though. So it's 5750. Wow. Yeah, I wonder why that's the case. I mean, yeah, based on this topside does look really good for this week. It's not much of a floor, but it does look like if we can clear. Oh, whoops, sorry. This line is really bad. Okay, yeah. Yeah, this level has been support here, resistance, support. So if we can break above this 53-ish, hold that as a support, I would say that looks really healthy for a further move upward. We're sort of targeting up here as our target for end of week. But yeah, I guess I've never played this ticker myself. I will just say I think it's had like pretty high volatility lately, so just check the IV on these contracts and all of that. And yeah, just be aware. There may be someone who's played this more than I have that can. What is this line? Is that an accident? Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, Shulgin, no worries. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, GDOL, learning to wait for future. Yeah, I think one of the most important things we all have to learn is there's enough tickers that exist that you should never feel like you're forcing a trade or forcing a setup. There should always be, you just wait, go to the next one, or just don't trade, or just trade indexes. But there's always something else you can trade that should be a lot cleaner. But yeah, that's part of the learning curve, is also knowing when is best or not to apply some of these maps. Okay, yeah, Unity. I'd already looked at this, but yeah, I can quickly show. I think there's a couple people had asked for it. So yeah, I think Unity, I had said this 43 level. Well, no, sorry, like 4280. Yeah, if we lose that level, it does look pretty good to at least fall to 41-ish. But if we lose that level as well, that I could easily see it falling all the way down to this king node down at 38, 39. But yeah, for me right now, like it's pretty tied to this 42.7, 42.8 level. If we crack below that fully, I do think we drop pretty strong throughout the week. So hopefully that covers Unity again. Okay, hello. Okay, hello also has pretty crazy nodes in general. So let me see here. Honestly, this Vex looks pretty nice. They're stepping upwards. But these moves look insane. Like, I don't know, $24 move. Guess it could happen. Like, we just came from that 140 node. So yeah, like there is a pretty strong 140 node into next week. Even this week we have 125-ish, which would be sort of line up with this wick here. Trying to see if there's like a strong support though. 115. So I guess we moved through that 115 level today. Okay, hello, it doesn't look bad actually. Like if we continue to hold this 115 for a bounce upwards. But I will say this stock has been like all over the place lately, so there's a chance they just chop it around for a bit just to consolidate before the next bigger move. So I'm not too sure. This 115 looks like it could hold, but it's not a major level. I'm only seeing it on GEX. VEX is not showing the same level, so maybe I'd be a bit cautious on OKLO. Yeah, I guess probably best entry here is actually off this previous all-time high, which we kind of already double bottomed off of that level. So that was like this 110 was probably the best entry there on OKLO. Okay. Hopefully that is helpful, Loon. I'm not seeing it as clear. I know like the past couple of weeks it's been pretty massive mover, but I'm not seeing it as super clear at the moment. Okay, so UNH has had some pretty good movement lately, honestly. So let's see here. Looks like we're wedging again. $3.40. Yes, I'll say right now on UNH, we're not at a good spot. We're kind of in the middle of these 340 and 350 nodes. Even on VEX, those nodes are showing quite strong. I will say a bounce off 340 would be quite good, sort of off these previous levels. So like one final retest of this sort of downwards wedge that we've been forming, or downwards channel, I guess. Yeah, this level's quite nice actually. Or inversely, you could also try the rejection off of 350. I think a bounce off 340 might be a bit. Actually, let me see. Honestly, you can probably treat those around the same. Like, I don't see any kind of bias going into next week. So I think marking out either of these nodes and playing just the reversal there will probably be fine. I would probably prefer the 340 bounce upwards just because I'm seeing a bit more volume stacked on upside on this. Whereas on the downside, it's really just 335, 332. But I think either way could work on UNH. So yeah, this one may be one just set alerts, and then once they get tagged, just take a look at that. Okay, CoreWeave. Yeah, CoreWeave has been also moving massive lately. Last week it also moved pretty crazy. I will say contracts are probably juiced horrendously. But that being said, actually we have some very nice nodes up here at 130. The only issue here being I'm not seeing like a great floor that I like. We have a support resistance flip like right here that we kind of rejected today. But yeah, like I'm not seeing a great bounce spot here, I'll be honest. I guess off this 120 would probably be okay. But I do find it weird that it's such low volume here on GEX. Like I know last week, CoreWeave several times had, I think it had nodes at 125 and 140, and throughout the week, honestly, like it had several good bounces off 125. And even the rejection of 140, I think on Thursday or Friday was like incredible. So I've seen CoreWeave have much better maps than it has right now. Like right now, it's only pointing towards upside, but we don't have any floor, so maybe a bit tricky to time this one properly. So you might want to just wait till end of week when it's cheaper, or if we get a floor to come in. But yeah, I think CoreWeave. I do think long term, I think I'd see some posts on like some pretty massive bullish flow. But again, I'm no expert on reading flow, so I don't want to speak incorrectly on that. But yeah, I've seen CoreWeave pick up a ton of traction. On Twitter, it's been pretty big, which kind of concerns me when it gets too big on Twitter. So it depends. I guess it depends where on Twitter you're seeing it. But yeah. Okay. I think Reddit. Yeah, I think Reddit we had already looked at. I'd said kind of waiting for the 235 tap that happened last week. And then I guess, yeah, if we do clear this 242, sort of these levels here, around 243, then it does look pretty good to push up to 250. But like the cleanest play here would, in my opinion, be we retrace 235 and then we get a bounce off of there. So let me see, 235. Yeah, so if we retrace around to the 0.5 fib or just above and then get a bounce there, that'd probably be my like optimal play there. I'm not sure I'd play it off of this. You know, some people say here we have a bull flag. I probably would not play off of that. Okay, hymns. Okay, hymns also looks like it's in the middle of a range here. 56. So actually, yeah, if we do get a bounce, if we do manage to retrace down to 56, that should be a pretty nice bounce. We do have this previous couple times support, or resistance, I mean, one time support. So like, I do think this level is pretty strong. Combine that with, you know, this obviously a strong node. So I do think a bounce off 56 would probably be really strong. Or conversely, if we pump towards 63 and then you play shorts off of that, could also work very well. So I think him is also a pretty clear map. You know, we have to, you know, we have a pretty sizable range with really strong nodes. So if we get a tap on either side, you just want to play the reversal. So him's actually a very good map. You just have to, yeah, set alerts on either side and just wait and see what happens there. Okay. Let me see. I'm just checking the other chats in case someone else has said something. Okay, it doesn't seem like it. Sorry, I'm just catching up on some of these messages. Oh, yeah, we can look at indexes. So let me just full screen here. So let me see here. Looks like we've just been pretty flat since close. Let me check this map for SPY. Okay, so I will say, looks like we still have some of those pretty large downside nodes. Again, these are some like end of quarter, end of month downside nodes, so I don't, you know, like the 650, it's not going to do much. I do think like the 657 could have some influence, but let me see here. I think this is more just, I would be cautious of it, but I don't think, like even today, we got dragged down a bit, but it wasn't anything massive, like what was showing on VEX earlier, if you looked on the weekend. Let me check SPX though, see if it's any different. So SPX, yeah, again, like we have some slight downside nodes here. But yeah, if we're looking, this is like a $30, $40 move. It's not anything too insane. Let me see QQQ. Yeah, QQQ pretty massive node just at 600. Like really strong psych level there, so it may be possible that we don't stray too far from that tomorrow. But let me see here. Let me go a bit higher time frame here on the indexes. So it does look like we bounced pretty well off of this support resistance slip. So actually, yeah, we wicked that 6,700 level. It's a pretty strong mental level. So we wicked that today, bounced pretty clean off of that. So yeah, I would say tomorrow we could just look to hold that level. Should be okay. That aligns pretty well here on NASDAQ. Same thing, you know, we have a resistance here, support, resistance, now support again. So we did bounce off a pretty strong level on both ES and NQ, so does look like we might hold that level, at least currently. So, but again, macro, I would recommend, yeah, if you're wanting to look at some of these more macro moves, either glitch or winners is going to have a much better read on this than I do. They've been doing this a lot longer, especially winners actually has very good macro analysis. So watch out for his messages. He's usually sharing his thoughts in the chat. Okay, Fig. I think Fig was also a recent IPO, right? Yeah, Fig's only been around like a month or two. Okay, looks like they finally cooled off after that initial like big surge. 55. Let me take a look at contracts. I have no idea how this stock moves at all. So let me just check. Contracts aren't terrible, honestly. They're not. Okay, yeah, so I think Fig, it does look good for upside. The one thing being, I just don't know how low they're gonna hunt. Like I could see them taking it as low as, you know, this previous double bottom down at like 51. And if they take out that liquidity, I would be surprised if we don't reverse off of that. But I guess if we're looking for a reversal before, I guess this could be off of a fib level, but it's just a lot less certain, I would say here. So I would just wait for a double bottom, just set an alert down there and just see. Once you get tagged on the alert, not once. If you get tagged on the alert, just check the map at that moment and see, you know, if we still look like this, but we have price down here at 51 or even 50, like 50 might look as a tiny bit of volume. So even that might be like a healthier bounce spot. And then look at taking longs off of that. But yeah, I guess I can see a bit of a risk of if you enter now off of this golden pocket, you might hit double bottom. Nodes up to 45. Oh, they had lower nodes, Loon. Hmm. Yeah, I guess we did just reject off of this 55, so there's also a chance we just, you know, these nodes keep shrinking as we fall throughout the week, but yeah, I guess at least currently there's just very little downside nodes to target on Fig. So, but yeah, it's weird if they had nodes at 45. I don't know how large they were, but if they were quite large and they just disappeared, that's a bit curious. Okay, FSLR. Okay, let's see here. Yeah,
Yeah, so this one's just been rampaging for a while. Let me see. 230. Um, 220. I'll say for now, 230 looks like pretty good ceiling, potential ceiling. I'm struggling to find a floor like this 220 node. It's a pretty weak floor if you ask me, but I guess it is there. But I'll say this 207, 205 might have a bit more volume. But overall, yeah, the strongest, like the stock has just been so strong lately that I guess you want to just be searching for any of these half decent floors and just playing longs off of that. Because it does seem we're biased long still for 230, 245. There's this node here at 250 that has some volume next week, but overall these are pretty all soft levels, like soft nodes. Sorry, like these are all pretty low in volume. I'd say the Vex has a couple of nodes that are a bit more trustable, but overall there's not huge nodes on this, and we're kind of in the middle between some of these. So yeah, I'll just mark out 230 perhaps if you want to try to look for a bounce downwards. If you're looking for longs, this 220 feels way too risky. But yeah, maybe mark out this 207, 210, or even this wick here at like the 211-ish. Because if we go and take that out, yeah, see, like we have a bit of a yeah, we did spike and reject it, and then we held it pretty well. So like this is maybe a stronger level, is 212-ish. Is it worth swinging 250, 10, 17? No, I wouldn't, WZ, just because, at least in my experience, like some of these OPEX nodes, a lot of times they do come true, but then I've also seen a lot of them finish pretty far off, or we get a ceiling step in at like 245, and if you're buying 250, like you're gonna need this to close at that price or above, so you just get a bit of a risk of theta as well, of theta eating at you. So if you do look further out, like you'd want to be looking closer in the money. So if we do get here, you're not impacted as much by theta, but overall, I tend to not size too heavy for any OPEX nodes. I'd rather just, during those weeks, actually, I just revert towards index trading, and I leave the swings. I try to close most swings the week before, honestly, or just save them and play them the week after. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Again, I mean, that's up to your risk tolerance, but I've seen OPEX weeks lead to a lot more, what's like the nice term? A lot more, let's say, manipulation, or a lot more failed nodes. Not failed nodes, but like fake ones, let's say, or ones that don't always come true. Amazon, yeah, Casanova. 1 second. I don't think I went over Amazon. So Amazon actually looks like it bounced well off of fib level, probably second golden pocket. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so this one bounced pretty well off of this 216-ish, 217-ish. Yeah, so like this clump here of nodes, that was last week, but we got pretty strong bounce off of this 215, 217-ish for this week. 225. Yeah, I guess you could look here at this 225 if we do get a full tap and then to reject. But honestly, it's pretty limited range here. Like there's not much. Say maybe that rejection is maybe the only thing I see, but I could also equally see if price just grinding up into this 225 and just stalling out the rest of the week and just chopping, or overshoot a little and then come back, or just reject and then bounce back. But like in general, when you're seeing stacked nodes like this, it's very difficult to play, even on Vex, right? Like we have 7 nodes, 6 out of 7 nodes from 240 to 225, just all with decent volume stacked together. So these are generally some of the uglier maps to play, and it's very difficult to, because you don't really have a defined bounce spot or spot where you expect price to start turning around. Like the range of where we're expecting a reversal is, it just gets way wider when we have all these stacked nodes. So I probably, I mean, the upside does look there, you know, for this week 230, next week 235, 230 even, and then even into OPEX, like we are pointing towards 240, 250. It's just, at least this week, it looks pretty difficult to, you know, we have 4 days left in the week, and I have no idea how these 5 or 6 nodes are going to interact, just because they're so stacked together. Hopefully that helps Casanova. Loon, I just saw your message. Let me take a look here. Okay, yeah, I see your message, Loon. Yeah, Fig, I think, yeah, that'd be a good spot to buy. Just we have to see. I think a lot of times with these newer tickers, it's just difficult to, you just don't have much idea how they move, right? So I don't have much experience playing any of these tickers like that are close to release, not close to release, that are like fresh off an IPO. Okay, American Express. Okay, American Express has a much better, I'd say, like, has a pretty good range. Looks like we're going from 345 to 332, so we do have like a $10 range or just over. We just tapped 345 today. Well, we're just below. So if we do reject pretty hard off of that, I could see us dropping down to 330, 333. At least to this wick here, actually. So honestly, yeah, I might be seeing that we just tapped 345. I might be a bit more leaning towards the bearish side. Let me see. Yeah, like we really don't see much above. We have it like, you know, these slight nodes, but like we definitely seems to be biased downwards. Now that we have tapped that 345, and even into next week, like we do have a pretty significant node down here. So yeah, I would say American Express looks pretty decent, pointing down for this week. I think Oscar I had already looked at. I don't think I liked it much, but yeah, and there's just not much to go off of on these nodes. So like, I think I had said if we clear 19 and hold, there's a chance we can get to 20 this week. But like, yeah, to be honest, there's just not much volume on a lot of these nodes. The chart itself has a pretty nice wedge. So it looked like it broke out on here on smaller time frame, but this higher time frame wedge, we're just not testing upper trend line. So yeah, Oscar, I don't know, at least based on the nodes that I'm currently seeing, I don't see it having too much upside, because even if we do hit 20, you know, it's not a massive move. Like, it doesn't seem like it'll be the full trend line break this week. That would be the massive, that would be the larger move. That would do very well. But I do know Oscar is quite volatile, so there's a chance, you know, if it does move pretty quick. Soundhound is approaching a really strong support resistance here. it goes back a lot further actually. Yeah, so actually this level's super strong. And also off of this recent extension upwards, we're probably here at the golden pocket or just under. So yeah, this level lines up really well with the 0.707 fib. And then we do have a bit of a trend line here. Yeah, honestly, Soundhound setup also looks very good. Oh, whoops. Yeah, this setup. Like, we do also have a pretty good floor at 15. So either we sort of stop hunt this support resistance flip and we hit this second golden pocket, or we just bounce just above 15, but honestly Soundhound looks really good. The only risk here being is we were just delivered off these $17 and $18 nodes, so I would have to check the volume, but it's possible these nodes just completely fade and we just stay at 15 the rest of the week. But honestly, to me, that looks like a pretty good bounce off of 15 or even 1540, 1550. Lines up pretty well with the chart and the maps. Okay. Soundhound. Anything else that anyone has questions of either charting or just anything general that I can answer? Let me see if I can. I don't think anyone actually watches this on YouTube, so I don't think I need to check that chat, but yeah, and I'll look into what I need to change for the YouTube video to be more higher quality, because I'll be honest, I've never done any of this, so then we'll see. TMO, what the heck? TMO? Loon, are you saying to play upside for this 540, maybe? Oh yeah, Vex, actually this is huge. This is interesting. What is this? Yeah, sorry, Loon. Let me think about this. I've just never heard of this ticker. Like this doesn't seem like a terrible spot to buy. Again, like you might be better to wait for the double bottom at like 445, 450. It's just weird to me. They have like absolutely no volume, and then there's just so much 2 weeks out. Yeah, so okay, yeah, so scientific, so it's healthcare, but yeah, sorry, let me check contracts. It's just I find it a bit bizarre. So if you're playing like a 540 call 2 weeks out. Yeah, the volume on these is like none. Yeah, Loon, in that case, honestly, you might you might have a better idea than I do, just because I think it was you, right, that had played ISRG lately. I guess with this setup, it's I could see it bouncing here off of these fibs. I just don't. I guess with those nodes being 2 weeks out, I don't know how they'll develop. Like if they roll that ceiling down or that peak node down from 540 to 510, like that'll have a huge impact on whatever you know on your play. But like I could see it bouncing here. It's just I don't know. I'm not too familiar with this ticker. It's a bit unique. Let's see, Dext. You're saying look at the weekly. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I guess DAX has a point that we're sort of holding this. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess even this fib here. We do have a pretty good, this wick over here. Looks like we are holding it. Like this isn't honestly like it's not a bad spot to try longs loon. I just don't know the ticker, but I wouldn't say this looks that bad honestly. Yeah, just probably just try not to get too wrecked on the spreads. Like I feel like the spreads will probably be pretty lethal on this, so just, you can probably lowball the spread pretty nicely and get a good fill. But yeah, it's definitely we're seeing really big upside on it 2 weeks out. So depending on I don't know your account size and stuff, it's probably worth like some level of lotto. Oh yeah, so yeah, like those spreads are horrendous. So yeah, just be cautious there. $520. So I wouldn't recommend 520 just in case this 510 node ends up being largest. So if you can somehow get 500, 505 maybe would be a lot better. Yeah, I think if you're as long as you're targeting under 505 strike price, I think it should be okay. Just in case they roll down this ceiling or they roll down this peak node. Okay, yeah, hopefully that helps Loon, but honestly, yeah, I don't have too much to say. I don't play too many healthcare tickers, and this one is, and especially like such large spreads, I usually stay away from. So, yeah, hopefully it helps a bit though. Okay, Clo. Yeah, we covered a few of these. I can just quickly run through them. So Tesla, they had a pretty nice flag today. I think they look pretty good, honestly, if they break above 450, I think was what I had said for some of these upside. But I would just be cautious on either 450 being a ceiling or even this 460, 462. But yeah, it does. I guess it's definitely leaning towards bullish into end of week. Open. I think open we had not looked at actually, so let me take a look. So open had a pretty good support resistance flip here. Actually, it was super clean at around $7. Let me see these nodes. We do have. Looks like we just rejected off a 9-ish. Open, I wouldn't recommend playing just because we are in the middle of the range. You can probably set alerts at $7 and $9 and just inverse whichever side it taps first. Should probably be a fine play. So if we either retest this line I have drawn here, if we sort of just retest these previous highs from last week, I would say either of those are probably fine plays. Yeah, right now we're in the middle of the range, so I wouldn't play that risk in case we just chop around here. Okay, Palantir we did look at. Yeah, I mean, it has a pretty good wedge. I think we're at a pretty critical flip point there, so I could see it going either way. Like if we reclaim this 182 and break above, we could hit this 190, 192. But if we just come back up, tap and reject again, then I could also see the downside playing out. So Palantir is a bit harder to. I'd say it's at a pretty crucial flip point. MicroStrategy we had not looked at. Yeah, MicroStrategy and Coinbase both ripped hard, so I'd say just be cautious with them, just because kind of we already missed the move. Like off of this 312 node, it bounced pretty hard today, a good 13, 10 or $13. So I think that move already happened. So anything on MicroStrategy would likely be a big chase. Yeah, Fletch, of course, anytime. Um, what else? What else? CoreWeave. CoreWeave. What had I said here? Oh, CoreWeave has pretty good upside. I think the only thing here was there's not like a clear floor. So like this 120 level perhaps looks okay. But definitely with CoreWeave, I guess I would have liked to see a bit of a better map where we actually have a floor to play off of, but the upside is definitely there towards 130. Just be cautious again because we're going into Tuesday tomorrow, so there's still a lot of time, and I think these contracts are usually pretty juiced in terms of the IV. Like the percentage is usually very high, so just be cautious with them there because there's a high chance they get you either with data or with the implied volatility. So CoreWeave has just been, you have to time it pretty well, and then with the lack of a floor, I see that as pretty tricky for this week at least. Especially if you compare to last week, CoreWeave had much better maps. So if you want to go pull some of those, you'll see what I'm saying, and I can send some out later if needed. Cypher, we don't have heat maps. This looks to be um, another mining company, I guess. I don't know for Bitcoin or what crypto, but let me see. Yeah, we're at a pretty big level here. Looks like it's gonna come test this 13 level again. But it did hold this 11 pretty strong. So yeah, I would say for this Cypher one, you just want to see if we reject here, if we break above. I think if we break above, it could have a pretty good move even to like 13, 50, 14, like this level here. But then if we reject, then maybe we can expect reversal down to 11 within the coming weeks. But again, I've never played this ticker. Don't have the heat map, so that's up to you how you want to handle. But yeah, we are approaching a pretty big level on Cypher. Okay, IREN. Let me see. So IREN. Okay, this Vex map is telling us basically nothing, I would say. It's just pretty split either way. We're in the complete mid-range. It looks like 45 we broke above and seem to be holding right now. So I'll say for now, yeah, if we hold that, maybe we can expect a bit of a bounce, but or maybe even we hit these highs from last week. But I'll say in general, these are pretty soft nodes, like they're pretty weak nodes overall. It's a lot of, it's not a very clear picture, I would say, especially like Gex and Vex aren't matching very well. And yeah, all we really have to go off is this 45 node. So I don't have much of an opinion here. I just don't think there's much too clear of a setup there. CrowdStrike. Okay, so CrowdStrike just broke out here last week. Actually, that was really good. It's extremely well respected down channel actually. Okay, let's see. So seems to be a bit biased towards upside. I'd say I'd be surprised if it clears this 505. So this 510 I think is maybe a bit optimistic. We either get a ceiling coming in on this 500 levels or we get, yeah, I'd be surprised if we overshot this previous swing high. But again here, like CrowdStrike looking at Gex, like this is all over the place, and Vex even, it's a bit biased towards upside. But there's a ton of like this 497 500 node could give a bit of a ceiling. It's 472 might pull harder than you think. So I'd say CrowdStrike seems to be in the middle of sort of its two large nodes on Vex, and the Gex is really not giving much of a picture either. So not much to say there. Like I think the play here was off of 470 or 472 last week, which I assume these nodes probably had volume last week. So that seemed to have been the better play. So I would say CrowdStrike is it's pretty much at a midpoint now between some major nodes. So better to let that play out, or just mark out some of those major nodes and play reversals off of those. Okay. What else do we have? Fiverr. Yeah, so let's see. Fiverr. Yeah, we do have a pretty strong support resistance level here. It's pretty far down at 24. But honestly, it might be headed for that. We do have some pretty good nodes here down at 24. So yeah, I would say probably the best play here is if we can wait for a retest of 24.50 or 24. Should give a pretty nice bounce. This 29. Yeah, like this is a pretty good range, honestly. If we can come down, tap this 24, and then shoot up towards 29, that's really good value. Yeah, I guess I don't know if it'll retrace a full dollar, but because right now we're hovering 25.20-ish. But yeah, I think here we have some pretty clear nodes, so this can be similar case where you set alert at each side and just wait for one of your alerts to get tagged and then just play the bounce off of that node, whichever way it is. So Fiverr has some pretty clear nodes. Don't see any issue there with that one. Qualcomm. Yeah, I think Qualcomm, the only thing you want to look at here is this 172.5 node just seemed to get delivered from. But honestly, this sold off pretty hard. So bounce off this 165 or 162 doesn't look too bad, actually. It looks like it may be a bit lower, down towards 162. But yeah, I would say with the sell of Qualcomm had, and we're approaching some pretty major downside nodes that align on Gex and Vex, we can try to take a bounce play. Seems we may need to wait a bit longer though, but maybe even down to this wick over here would be a good level of 162. Yeah, like this wouldn't be terrible, honestly. This is a pretty strong level from the past. So I would say it looks like Qualcomm. I would wait for it to sink a bit further before trying calls, but these are very strong nodes. So I do think like a bounce there could pay very well. Okay, Qualcomm, Clo. Hopefully I went through all those tickers. That was sufficient. Loon. Hopefully that covers everything. Anything else? Anyone? Let me see who else is still here. And yeah, Chloe, I know you joined a bit late, so hopefully I wasn't rushing through those too much, but in the recording I covered a few of them, but I'll say, yeah, I don't know if you have to go back and look through them, but that's up to you, especially because it's a bit too time intensive for me to go back, look through, and sort of partition them by segments, how you can do on YouTube videos. So I really just gonna upload the full the full block, so it's pretty clunky if you're gonna go through, go look through an hour and a half, 2 hours. So hopefully the quick recap I gave you was enough to help you out. No, Marvel. Sorry, your name is cut off. I don't know who it is. R something. Do I need to full screen Discord or what? Yeah, I don't know why it's truncating some of the usernames. But anyways, Marvel 82 node is very nice. Well, on Gex is pretty strong. On Vex it looks like 77 is the stronger node. 77. Okay, that makes sense. So I would say with Marvel, if we're unable to hold this 82 level, the support resistance, if we're able to hold it again for further push up, I'd be very cautious because then it might sink pretty far to bounce off the 77, or you might just chop through the rest of the week. But if we're able to hold this 82 level, this $90 strike doesn't look too bad. You know, we have a bit of a floor here, as well as on Gex. I think it'll hold pretty well. So if we can hold this 82 level, I wouldn't mind a long play towards at least 85. You know, take some trims there and then possibly higher up towards 90 if this node keeps growing. So Marvel, pretty good setup as long as we can hold this level there. Yep, hopefully that helps. Zoom. I think Zoom 85. Yes, it looks like Zoom just rejected these nodes, this 85. If we can reclaim that 85 and stay over, yeah, I would say at minimum, you know, at least a double top up here towards 87, 87.50 looks pretty good, but I think for Zoom it's pretty critical that it can fight over the 85 level and reclaim this level. Otherwise, if this sinks any further, I would just get worried that the 85 would sort of start acting as a ceiling rather than a support. So Zoom, you really want to see us claim that level and then hold it as support so we can push higher towards 89. But yeah, like the 90 node's pretty strong next week, so I think, yeah, the bias long on Zoom is pretty good. Is it because there's no floor? Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like I would feel a bit more confident if we could reclaim that $85 level as a floor. Now, yeah, what's possible is we undershot, or not we undershot, but like we're a bit under that floor and we just, you know, we pump towards it, past it, and then keep going. But if we dip any lower, I then start getting worried that the $85 node becomes a ceiling. So then I'd get worried that we'd reject it. You know, we've already rejected a few times in the past, right? So I got worried. I'd get worried on these two taps. Even like today, we rejected it again. So now, which with each tap it gets weaker. So I do think like the upside is still favored here, but I'd prefer not to have this grow and act as a ceiling later in the week. So yeah, I think if we can stay where we are, even a bit higher on Zoom, I think it does look pretty good for upside, as long as this node doesn't grow much larger, that 85, 86 node. Hopefully that helps, Loon. Okay. Anyone else? Any other tickers there? If not, I'll probably cut it here. Hopefully, yeah, I know we ran good 2 hours. So that's the goal, is hopefully 2 hours is enough for everyone to voice some of their thoughts. I will say, yeah, just be cautious tomorrow with end of month, end of quarter. There tends to be a bit more volatility than what is normal. So just be cautious tomorrow, and then we can always reassess tomorrow or Wednesday, and then just play towards the back half of the week when we should be a bit safer from some of this, you know, a lot of these downside hedges on the indexes, etc. So yeah, hopefully helped everyone. Good luck, and then yeah, I'll be back Wednesday to do this again. So thanks everyone who joined, who shared ideas. Hopefully helped. Thanks to all of you for joining. Okay, and have a good night, everyone. Okay, bye.